AT&T is no longer offering its 5G internet air service in New York because of the new broadband law. The broadband law, which I alluded to previous, which B had me clarify for the audience, $15 for 25 megabit per second home broadband, also business broadband apparently, and then $20 a month for the 200 meg service. AT&T's response, because they can't do this, was to leave the state of New York, no longer offer those services. For what it's worth, AT&T does not offer a wireline option in the state of New York. Verizon has Fios. I know Comcast is there as well. Probably some regionals, of course. But all indications are, and this is also true of Starlink, they don't want to offer their services there either. The problem for sure is the 200 meg plan for $20. That for sure has to be the problem, because even at the $15 price point, to give a customer 25 meg may not be any skin off their back. It's just too taxing to a mobile network that's being secondarily utilized for home broadband to just be $20, 200 meg. You know,
and also one thing that's not in that article, Chacha, is this: if somebody qualifies for the $15 or $20 rate plan, and by the way, this is new information since we last spoke. If somebody qualifies for the $15 or $20 plan, you have to give them that internet service, regardless if T-Mobile is, maxed out in that cell site sector, right? You have to give it to them. So that's another.
So they can't deny service because of congestion.
Correct.
And this is too difficult to do over the wireless network. It's just too much.
Right. It's too taxing. Right.
EM, jump in.
I don't know. I can't necessarily blame AT&T for not wanting to do what they're being asked to do. It's wireless network capacity is finite, regardless of whether Verizon or T-Mobile want to admit that. So, if it's not feasible, it's not feasible. And I think AT&T is a company that's large enough and has enough resources to make that decision on their own.
Hey, Ian, is the Attorney General Letitia James going to go to the FCC and say, let's get AT&T some more bandwidth? Can we do that? You think she'll do that?
No, I think there's going to be enough people that look at AT&T and say, hey, we've given you all this free spectrum and you still don't want to offer broadband services.
I was thinking the same thing. You've got enough. Mate, we want this.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Sneed. I mean, they've gotten so much free spectrum. They've gotten so much free subsidy. You'd think that they'd have a wireless network that could handle something like this, and clearly they don't. So where's that money going,
they're about to get 4.9. That is a thing. That is not in question, dog. That is going to happen.
Man, this is just AT&T being AT&T.
But here's the thing, though. Those folks, those lawmakers in New York, they don't even know what AT&T has been doing, receiving FirstNet. They don't know anything about that stuff. These people are so ill-prepared to make deals, to advocate, with good intentions, understanding how the industry works. They're just there to be disruptive. They're not really there to make shit happen. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to them, I'm sure they think they're making shit happen by making these types of laws, but they don't know what it takes to build a wireless network. So how do they really understand what they're doing? Dude, they told Starlink the same thing. Starlink, literally satellite service, bro. People used to get half a meg from satellite.
Right. And like we kind of talked about when we were on the phone earlier, if this was a scenario where it was similar, if not identical to ACP, where these ISPs were getting a kickback from the government to offer that service at that price.
Well, that was my solution.
Right. So this would be a different
funding from the state to pay for half of it, right?
Right. So if that's at play, this is a completely different conversation. But if they're just being mandated to offer this at a certain price,
they basically told them, if you want to play ball here, you need to offer this.
Yeah, and that's I get it. I'm not going to fault AT&T for not wanting to do that or saying.
Yeah, that's like socialist on
Well, what
New
they're
York
calling it,
State's
Max,
part.
they're calling it price regulation, right?
Right, and that's socialist, or even communist. I mean, and I don't like to just throw those words around, but I mean, it's the government telling a company what price they can sell their product at, and it's not any money that's coming from the government.
So we can all agree that it's violating the whole concept of capitalism.
I think so.
Go ahead, B, jump in.
I agree. I agree with AT&T on this. I think they're well within their right to pull out. I think what Max said just now is 100% accurate. This is an overreach. The federal government, state government, local government, you cannot tell a private company how to price their product. And where do they do that at?
Don't you feel they're distant from reality in this too? Like it's not even close.
Well, it's typical New York stuff. I mean, it's what they do. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, it's like, for whatever. I mean, does the country think they're getting bad service or something like that from the telecom industry?
$30 work, B? If it was 30?
You can't tell. Like, you can't do that. You can't. I don't know. I mean, unless you're going to help pay,
right?
Unless you're going to subsidize service,
correct.
You cannot tell a private company how to like price their good or service. It's their good or service.
Or give them a kickback in taxes or something else.
Yeah, like man, if the federal or state government was so good at taking care of the consumer, why don't they do a better job with their own taxation, their own method of serving the American people? Nobody wants to deal with the state tax department any more than they do the IRS.
Right.
I'm sick of this, man. It's just ridiculous. Come on, man. AT&T is well within their right. Every time I turn around, you get the government talking about how horrible businesses are. And then as soon as you go to interface with the government, they are just as bad, if not worse. How many times is the IRS giving you a credit back, Moose? How many times are they giving you a credit back when they screw up there? I mean, come on, man.
I always owe money to the IRS. I'm like,
exactly. They don't give you back a doggone thing. Who are them to tell anybody about how to manage customer care? They don't know anything about it. And so we come to this particular point here, and I'm supposed to believe that this is the right thing to do. 200 for 20.
Okay, so here's the outcome here, right, B? The people of New York now have lost a competitor. They're out. So if this was really about getting folks connected, you just hurt them. AT&T wasn't going to leave until this law. And the last I checked, fixed wireless is one of the best priced options of all connectivity. On average, what are we talking? $50, $60?
Sometimes
cable average is like $80 or $90.
Sometimes it's okay to bridge gaps. Sometimes it's okay to bring people into a room and try to come to common ground instead of constantly trying to argue, fuss, and fight and make the private industry out to be some sort of vigilante. That's just not the case, man. Can we not do this to private companies, to people anymore? Can we just stop this? Because, now we have one less competitor in New York. Now we're talking about the people there in New York, having less choice.
Hey, B, what happens when you lose a competitor in an industry? What happens to customer pricing?
Generally it goes up. But in the industry that we talk about, anytime there's a price increase, it could be $2. It's like, oh my God, I can't afford that. What are you doing? Stop it. This is bad for the consumer.
But they need more chicken. But they need more chicken.
It's not true. It's stupid. Stop it.
Also,
they need more chicken, bro.
Get out of here, man.